We're going to get started in 3 minutes. Thank you for your patience. All right, we're going to get started. Jack, you're going to stand there, or you're coming back? Or there? Good morning and welcome, everyone. All right, if you can hear me say good morning, and if you're ready to start, can I hear good morning back, maybe? All right. Thank you. All right, good morning, everyone. So welcome to WishFest 2025. My name is Fumiko Haft, and I serve as the campus dean and CAO of UConn Waterbury, just across the street, and the founder and co-director of WishFest. It's a true honor to welcome you to what is now our third annual WishFest, a day that celebrates not just innovation, sustainability, and health, but also the power of resilience and imagination in shaping our collective future. So this year's theme is Wish to Ignite, Passion, Resilience, and Boundless Possibilities. And what better place to do that than right here in Waterbury, where creativity, community, and courage intersect. WishFest is a result of extraordinary partnerships. I want to take a moment to thank each of our key collaborators and supporters, the City of Waterbury, Waterbury Public Schools, Northwest Regional Workforce Investment Board, and their outstanding teams, the David and Joan Reed Endowment, whose vision and generosity make this event possible, the NSF Transcend PhD Training Program, supporting neurodiversity and AI innovation, the UConn School of Business Digital Frontiers Initiative. You saw some slides up here dedicated to promoting innovation, analytics, and emerging technology into business and beyond. The OLLI program, a lifelong learning program at UConn Waterbury, offers enriching non-credit courses for over 500 adults age 50 and over. I used to call it a program for senior people. Then I realized I was over 50, so I changed the language not to use the word senior anymore. Because I look like a teenager, right? And the Palace Theater, the Mattituck Museum, Kathy and Jim Smith, and Dunkin' Donuts. There's a donut across the street on the 3rd floor, 750 of them lying around, so please do go and get some. To all our sponsors, volunteers, and especially our WishFest organizing committee, thank you. To the more than 1,000 students, most of you here today, many of whom arrived by bus from schools across Waterbury and beyond, I know some walked over, you are the heart of this day. Whether this is your first time stepping onto a college campus or into the theater, your first science exhibit, or your first time meeting a scientist like Jack Horner, I know he was working up the crowd walking around, we want you to know this is for you. You belong in spaces of discovery, you are capable of greatness, and the future needs your voice, your ideas, and your story. You'll hear from an incredible lineup today, starting with Jack Horner, the paleontologist behind Jurassic Park, followed by powerful voices like Shavonna Clark, Miss Connecticut USA from 2024, Dr. Sally Reese, and our student panelists. Then after the Palace Theater, you'll take part in hands-on science exhibits, VR demos, and small group conversations that we hope will spark something in you. And grab that UConn Waterbury swag that we have for all of you by collecting stamps on the back of your program. If you are Waterbury or other local students, I hope we have enough swags, and completing surveys if you're a UConn student. So lean in, ask questions, and be bold. Let's make this a day of connection, inspiration, and ignition. Welcome to WishFest. All right, so I have my next part. I'm going to introduce the president of UConn. Dr. Radenka Maric is the 17th president of the University of Connecticut. An internationally recognized leader, she's not just the president, she is also an international leader in innovation and research of clean energy and sustainability. She is committed to expanding access to education and driving UConn's impact across the state, nation, and beyond. Welcome, President Radenka Maric.
Good morning, Waterbury. What a joy to be with you. You know, this is an amazing place, and it's an amazing place because of all of you. And the WishFest is a special place because of Dr. Phumika Hoff. And she's the most humble person that you will meet, but I will tell you why I love this place. I love this place because you have amazing leaders in community. You have amazing mayor of this city that when I met him first time, I said, this person cares so much that as a new president of UConn, I have to do something for this place. So my friend Neil, could you please stand up to be recognized by students, because you are no longer mayor and they might not know you, but I know you are in the crowd, so could you please stand up and wave to them? Where is he? Okay. Maybe he just used the bathroom if he's not in the crowd, but doesn't matter. He's an amazing leader because he wants what is the best for Waterbury. And when we talk about the Waterbury, in 5 minutes, he convinced me that UConn must invest in this place. And what I mean to invest in this place is putting the best people. And I told him, if you can bring communities and people who will support this place, I will bring the best leader for you. And why Phumika, and I consider her to be among the best. Her family lives in San Francisco. She commutes each week from San Francisco on Monday, he's here, Many weekends she stays here, and children and husband are in San Francisco. She is here because she believes in this community, she has a vision for this community, and she wants to work with you to get the best out of yourself, and you can do it. So today's Wish Fest is about, as Fumiko said, about the passion, resilience, and boundless possibilities. I hear our students telling me, President Merrick, I cannot do it because I was born and raised in zip code, and nobody in my family went to school. I says, honey, I was born and raised in the country that doesn't exist. I was educated in the country where I was only woman student in engineering, and it never crossed my mind that I cannot do it. So let's work together, and you all can do it, because you have amazing Yukon in your backyard, and if you pull yourself, you can make it. Many times people will tell you why you cannot do it. And I want that whenever that happens, you ask person to help you to identify your strengths. Because we all have the strengths and weaknesses. And you have to work on your strengths, have a discipline, and when you excel with your strengths and bring to the next level, your weaknesses will diminish. So never forget who you are. And people says, what is the neurodiversity? I have no understanding. And I says, we are all different. And thanks God we are all different, because otherwise the world will be boring if there is 10 Fumikos or 10 Radenkas or anybody. So we all want to celebrate our differences. But one thing has to be common. Work hard, have persistence, have passion, act with humility, and have the empathy for other people. This world is not about you, it's about all of us. And each of us has to think, how do we make this place a better place? You are going... You are going to face many challenges in life. But I want you to remind yourself that brick walls in life are there to show how badly you want something. So never give up, whatever are your circumstances. And this is all about you, about students, about the students of Connecticut, about the students of Yukon. You have great opportunities in this campus because you have many leaders, from superintendents, from General Assembly who came here, from your mayor, from former mayor, from your donors, people who want this place to be the best place in Connecticut. I want to thank incredible speakers that you're going to hear today: Jack Honor, Shavannah Clark, Sally Reese, and many others for inspiring us with your journeys and your wisdom. Thank you all for making this possible. Thank you all people that work behind the scene, because there are so many people, faculty, staffers, students, so I want a round of applause for them. And I want to acknowledge the special person who is the community builder, Kathy Smith, who organized the party at her place last night because she believes in Waterbury and what we do. So Kathy, thank you. But last night, we sang the song, Country Road, and we are such a bad singers. So you know, as a leader, you also have to acknowledge when you are bad. So we are not going for American Idol, but the song goes something like, country road, take me home to the place I belong, Waterbury, Waterbury, whatever we do, you know. So thank you all, enjoy the fest.
I did not know you were a singer, thank you. Who knew that the president could sing, play the piano, make clothes, cook, and be a president all at the same time? All right, thank you very much. We're gonna keep on moving on. If you remember one thing about me, it might be about my 5,000 miles of commute, or it might be my age, but hopefully you'll have some memorable moments from this event this morning and all day today. We're gonna move on, and I would love to introduce our next welcome by the mayor. Mayor Paul Prynoski is the mayor of the city of Waterbury, as well as we all know, hopefully you know your mayor, and a longtime advocate for education, economic development, and community partnerships. Under his leadership, Waterbury is increasingly strengthening its ties with UConn, yay, and continues to invest in innovation and opportunity for all residents. Welcome, Mayor.
Good morning. I want to say thank you to Dr. Merrick and Dr. Hoff, and good morning to all of you. It's great to see so many enthusiastic people here packing the palace for our event today. And it's my great honor as mayor to be able to welcome you to the 3rd annual Wish Fest on behalf of the city of Waterbury. The event has grown into something truly special, and today we're thrilled to be joined by over 1,000 students from 17 middle schools and high schools, including students not only from our own Waterbury Public Schools, but also Holy Cross High School, ACES at Chase Magnet School, and even the Foreman School from Litchfield. To all the students, faculty, staff, and community partners joining us today, thank you for being here and making this day possible. WishFest was created as a powerful partnership between the University of Connecticut, Waterbury campus, and the city of Waterbury, with a shared goal to advance education, innovation, and opportunity for our next generation. Together, we aim to build a stronger pathway from education to workforce, empowering students to dream big and providing the tools they need to succeed in an ever-changing world. This year's theme, Wish to Ignite Passion, Resilience, and Boundless Possibilities, is a reminder that the future is wide open. We know that each of you in this room has the potential to ignite change, to show resilience in the face of challenges, and to turn your passions into reality. Whether you're here to explore new ideas, hear from inspirational leaders, or connect with others who share your enthusiasm for innovation, sustainability, and health, today is a day to spark those passions. So to all the students in the room today, this day is for you. I encourage you to engage, to ask questions, and take advantage of every opportunity to learn and grow. The future is yours to shape, and it starts right here, right now. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of this day.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Moving on to your superintendent. Darren Schwartz is the interim superintendent of Waterbury Public Schools. Most of you, especially if you're from the public schools, you know him, or hopefully you do. If you don't, not sure, that is a problem. And a founding partner of WishFest. He's a passionate advocate, as you all know also, I hope, for student opportunities, equity, and innovative school community partnerships that prepare learners for success beyond the classroom. Welcome, Darren.
Hi, good morning, everyone. This is low, whoa. Hi, everybody, good morning. All right, thank you so much. I'm glad we have the energy this morning. So I want to start off by saying this is our 3rd year of the event. It gets better every year, and I want to thank Dr. Holt and President Radenka for their vision and their collaboration with the Waterbury Public Schools and the other school systems here today. It's your willingness and collaboration that really make days like this possible. And I just want to give you a quick story. My wife grew up in Waterbury in the South End, and she went to kindergarten. She didn't know a single word of English when she started kindergarten, which could be quite daunting. In addition to that, the week before she started kindergarten, she lost her father to a car accident. She worked her way through those obstacles and many others throughout her career here in Waterbury as a student to eventually becoming a first-generation student and attending UConn Waterbury. And I say that because it's a great reminder that we all face obstacles and barriers, some more difficult than others to overcome. Every single one of you has a barrier. I've had barriers, and everyone that's spoken here today and will speak have had barriers in their life. And obviously my wife's barriers that she was able to overcome significantly outweigh the barriers I had to overcome, but she still did it. And she chose to go to a university here in Waterbury, UConn Waterbury, and it changed her life for the better. And now she's a professional. And so as you look to your future, I want you to remember to find your niche, believe in yourself, go all in because we certainly believe in you. And as you start to look for your career outside of your high school, as you go through as a junior and senior, think about UConn Waterbury, look into it because it certainly made a difference in my wife's life and it certainly would make a difference in yours, and don't discount it, okay? So look into UConn Waterbury as you go. Thank you.
Thanks for the plug, Darren. Thank you. So we're going to move on and start the talks very soon. Jesse Sanchez is the Managing Director of Programs at the Neurodiversity Alliance, a national nonprofit dedicated to advancing opportunities for neurodivergent individuals. As a neurodivergent leader himself, he brings lived experience, a background in Silicon Valley's tech industry, and a deep commitment to building systems that recognize, elevate, and leverage the diverse strengths of all minds. And we're in conversations about bringing his nonprofit to Waterbury. Jesse will now introduce our UConn Waterbury Honorary Fellow and today's keynote speaker, Jack Horner. Jesse.
Good morning, everyone. It's so great to see all these fresh faces, young faces and minds. It is my honor to introduce your keynote speaker, Jack Horner, this morning. Jack is a trailblazing paleontologist, a celebrated scholar, and a relentless advocate for the power of unconventional minds. Jack's extraordinary career has reshaped our understanding of dinosaurs. From unearthing the first dinosaur eggs in the Western Hemisphere to revealing the secrets of their growth and behavior through groundbreaking research, as the inspiration for the movie Jurassic Park's Dr. Alan Grant. He's the real life Dr. Alan Grant. Welcome to the stage, Jack Horner.
Yeah,
Jack.
starting to give my talk.
This is for you.
Oh, cool. What is it?
It's in a
trophy. It's a little brain trophy with a light.
All right.
Okay, get out of here.
Have at him.
Leave it. Go. Mm. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Sometimes you have to get rid of those people that introduce you because they start telling the story you want to tell. And I have my own story. All right. Is there any possible way to turn these big lights out? Can we do that? Please. Nobody has to see me. I want people to see the screen. All right. hard to get done, I guess. Anyway, so I was asked to give you a talk about me, and I'd rather talk about dinosaurs, but I'll tell you about finding some dinosaurs. I was born and raised in the state of Montana, which is a long ways from here. I started digging when I was 1 year old. And I found my first fossil when I was 6. And I told my parents I wanted to be a paleontologist, and my parents didn't really know what that was, and I said I wanted to be able to dig more in the dirt, and so they just let me go outside and dig in the dirt. While I was a little kid, when I was a little child, back in the old days, there actually was a cereal box that had dinosaurs in it. And I wanted to play with those dinosaurs, but I was a little bit disappointed that a lot of the dinosaurs weren't actually dinosaurs. They were different kinds of extinct animals, but they weren't dinosaurs. And so I was pretty irritated at the cereal company for putting these animals that weren't dinosaurs in there. So I would throw away the ones that weren't dinosaurs and keep the ones that were and play with them in my backyard in the dirt. And then when I turned the age of 8, I told my father that I wanted to go find dinosaurs, and where we lived wasn't the right place to find dinosaurs. So he drove me to a place to find my first dinosaur, and so at the age of 8, I found a dinosaur bone. I still have it. I have no idea what it is, but it's a dinosaur bone. And at that time, on my 8th birthday, they also gave me 2 books. One of them was a book about dinosaurs, and it showed dinosaur eggs. And I was excited by dinosaur eggs. Dinosaur eggs had just been found in Mongolia, and there were pictures of Triceratops and T-Rex, and I thought those would be really cool dinosaurs to find. So, again, I wanted to be a paleontologist. My parents also got me this book called All About Dinosaurs, and it showed baby dinosaurs. And then I really got excited because I wanted to find baby dinosaurs. And no one else had ever found them. They'd only been found in Mongolia. And so I had these books, but I was only looking at the pictures. And I was only looking at the pictures because I wasn't very good at reading. In fact, I couldn't hardly read at all. And as you can see here by my report card, it wasn't very good. Well, and my father told me that there was no way that I could be a paleontologist if I couldn't read. And he told all of my friends, and he told all of his friends, that I was just lazy and spoiled. And that was the reason that I couldn't read. But I kind of ignored my father, and I would have my mother take me to the library where they had other dinosaur books and other fossil books. And so I started identifying the fossils that I was finding. I would take them to the library and I would look at the books and figure out what fossils they were, and then it also showed how to make these little stands to put them on so I could make an exhibit. And so when I was 13 years old, I actually built an exhibit for the library with the fossils in it. And that was really cool, except, you know, I was still not doing very well in school. And so in the eighth grade, I failed English. And my mother had to call the principal to find out if I was going to graduate. And fortunately, they decided that there were too many students in 8th grade, and they didn't want to keep me back there, so they let me go into high school. And I went to high school, and I started failing all of my classes. In fact, I'm not sure I ever passed any class, but they had a science fair, and so I started joining the science fair, and the first thing I made was a rocket, and it was a really cool rocket. And the second thing I made was a Van de Graaff generator to make giant sparks. And they gave me the grand prize. So I failed science and won the science fair. That was, who knows? And then for my senior year in high school, then I got all my fossils together and I made a fossil exhibit, and I got another grand prize. I won the science fair again, and I was still failing English, and I was still failing science. But the cool thing is that because I had won the science fair that year, and it was my senior year in high school, the University of Montana invited me to come to college and study paleontology. So, you know, I didn't tell them that I was failing science, but I did get to graduate, and so I graduated with a D- in English. But I got a high school diploma, and that was really cool. So I got a high school diploma. I went to the University of Montana, and it was wonderful. I was like in heaven, because they had a huge fossil collection, and I could go around and study the fossils, and I really was having fun. Of course, I wasn't passing anything in college, and at the end of my first year in college, I had a 0.06 grade average, which is really bad. If you don't know what those numbers mean, it's really, really bad. It means I got F's in everything except swimming, which I got an A in. It was the only A I ever got in my life. So they put me on academic probation because I flunked everything, and then I got to go one more semester, and then I flunked out completely, and so I flunked out. But I got to go to college for 2 quarters, so I learned quite a bit of stuff, and that was pretty fun. But when I flunked out, I got drafted. The military drafted me. I was drafted into the United States Marine Corps. I went to Vietnam. And I survived that, and when I got done, I went back to the University of Montana and begged to get back in again. I said, I'll do better this time. Well, I didn't do better. I went for 2 quarters and I got flunked out again, and then I begged to get back in again, and then I flunked out again, and then I begged to get back in, and I flunked out again. Well, I went to college for 7 years. 7 years. Well, I didn't get a degree, but I learned a lot of stuff. I learned all about geology. I put a saber-toothed tiger skeleton together. Don't say anything about my pants, though. It was the 70s. anyway, I learned all about geology. I learned how to work in a museum. I learned a lot of stuff, but I had flunked out, and so I actually had to go back home. And there was my father, you know, saying, I knew you were going to flunk out, you know, you're spoiled and lazy. And so I had to go back to work for my father and drive trucks. And all the time I was there, I was writing letters to museums and asking if they had any jobs of any kind that I could get into. And there was a job opening at a college here in the East. And so I applied for it, and the person that was hiring liked the fact that I had been in the military and that I was a veteran. And so he decided to hire me. And so my first job was to be a technician at Princeton University. And so that was pretty cool. They have a natural history museum, and so I got to go to Princeton, and they gave me a laboratory, and I started working in that laboratory. My job was to prepare fossils for the students and the curator and make exhibits, and they said I could have 1 day a week to do research. And so I thought that was wonderful. I was like in heaven. I mean, I had a laboratory and I had fossils to look at, and it was just great. But I was told you know, you can be the technician, but you can never be a curator because you have to have a degree in college, and specifically you have to have a PhD. And so I didn't have one, but I didn't mind being a technician. I mean, it seemed like a great thing. I had finally had a job at a university. I was 29 years old. The next year, when I turned 30, I learned that I was dyslexic. I never knew what dyslexia was before that. I knew I couldn't read, but, you know, I still could look at fossils. It didn't stop me from looking at fossils and studying them, but it didn't matter. I mean, they told me I was dyslexic, but I still, you know, what does that mean? I don't know. And it just means they told me I couldn't read, and I said I already knew that. So, but I was in New Jersey, and New Jersey, you know, is a place very close to all these great museums, like the American Museum in New York City and the Peabody Museum here in Connecticut at Yale, and the Smithsonian. I mean, there was just great museums around, and on my day off to do research, I would go to these museums and see all the great fossils that had been found. The first dinosaur fossils found in the Western Hemisphere had been found very close to where I was born and raised in Montana. But the coolest thing was at the American Museum in New York City were the dinosaur eggs and the dinosaur fossils that had been found in Mongolia. And I was fascinated by them. And so the first thing I did was I went to the American Museum, I looked at their eggs, and I said to the curators, would it be possible for me to take some of these eggs back to Princeton and break them open and look inside to see if anything's there? And they said, absolutely not. You can't break dinosaur eggs, they're precious. And I said, but eggs are packages. The cool thing would be inside. Does anybody keep eggs in the refrigerator forever? I mean, it's ridiculous. But I asked, and they said no. And so that was that. There were all these beautiful dinosaur eggs, and they wouldn't let me break any of them. But fortunately, the next year, I was able to go back to Montana where I'd found my first dinosaur bone, and I found one of the first dinosaur eggs from the Western Hemisphere, the first dinosaur eggs in the United States. And so that was pretty cool, but it was already broken. It was already broken, so It was already broken. I could see that there really wasn't anything in it, but it was pretty cool to have a dinosaur egg that I found myself. The year after that, I was back in Montana again on vacation, and some lady, I got a report that some lady wanted some fossil identified, a dinosaur, in this little town called Bynum, which was not very far from where I'd found my first dinosaur bone and the dinosaur egg. And so I went there, and while I was there, she had a tail of a dinosaur, and I identified it as a duck-billed dinosaur. And that was really cool. And she had a rock shop, and it had a whole bunch of fossils in it, and I identified a bunch of fossils. And as I was walking out the door, she puts out her hand and she says, "Do you know what these things are?" And down there in the lower right-hand corner was what she had in her hand. And they were baby dinosaur bones. They were the first baby dinosaur bones found in the world. And I was like, whoa, this is wonderful. And so I said, these are really, really important. Could you tell me where they came from? And she was reluctant at first, and finally allowed to take me out to where they had come from. She took my friend Bob and I out, and laying all over the surface were thousands of baby dinosaur bones. And so Bob and I excavated the site, and it turned out to be a nest. And in the nest were 15 baby dinosaurs. 15 baby dinosaurs, tiny little dinosaurs this long, where an adult dinosaur would just barely fit on the stage. So the first baby dinosaurs found in the world. And very near that was what looked like an adult dinosaur, and I excavated that as well, and it turned out to be a new kind of duck-billed dinosaur, and the same species as the babies. And so in 1979, my friend Bob and I published a paper and named the new dinosaur Maiasaura peeblesaurum. And Maiasaura means good mother. So this was the first evidence that dinosaurs took care of their babies, that they built nests, and they cared for their young, and they lived in colonies. And Princeton University was so excited that I had made these discoveries that they promoted me to research scientist, a position that only people with a PhD has, and I don't have any degree. But they promoted me. They gave me a laboratory, they gave me an office, and that was cool. But I wanted to go find more dinosaur eggs, and so we went back out. We started finding dinosaur eggs, and we started finding other kinds of dinosaurs, and it was really interesting. But while I was out there in 1981, a guy came out and said, can you leave some of these fossils in Montana, because we're building a new museum and we'd like to have them. And I said, no, these belong to Princeton. And I said, but if you made me the curator of this new museum, then I would collect for the new museum. And they said, great, done. So in 1982, I was hired to be the curator of paleontology at Montana State University. And as soon as I got to Montana State University, they said, well, we're going to allow you to be a curator. You should have a PhD, but we'll let you be the curator, but don't forget, you don't have a PhD, you cannot be a professor, you cannot have students, you cannot teach classes, you can't do any of this stuff. I said, I don't care. I'm a curator. I get to be a curator. I have a dinosaur collection now, and I can make a new dinosaur collection. And that was wonderful. And so I started collecting all these dinosaur eggs. And I had a hammer, and all these dinosaur eggs. And so I just started, every time I get a dinosaur egg, I'd break it open. And if there was nothing inside, I'd just, glue is cheap. You just glue it back together and nobody knows that you had broken it open anyway. So it was great. So I glued it back together, or I kept breaking them open, and finally I broke one open, and inside was a tiny little skeleton, the first dinosaur embryo ever found. And it was found because I had a hammer. So that's what you do when you have a hammer, right? So just because people tell you you shouldn't do something, unless it's illegal, of course, use your imagination. So I was collecting a lot of dinosaur bones and dinosaur eggs, and we were building a huge collection. And then I realized one day that we could learn an awful lot about dinosaurs by looking inside of their bones. Just, breaking their bones open. And again, people didn't like that idea because, you shouldn't break dinosaur bones open because they're precious, just like dinosaur eggs. But I had read a paper by a guy in Paris that he was talking about if you took some bone fragments, you could actually look inside and tell something about how fast dinosaurs grew. And so I took some baby dinosaur bones to Paris, and we cut them and looked inside, and we were able to determine that these baby dinosaurs were warm-blooded, which was sort of new idea at that time. So things were going great. And then the next year, in 1986, unbeknown to me, somebody decided to give me an honorary doctorate. And then they also gave me this thing called a MacArthur Fellowship, which I can't even begin to tell you what that is, but I can tell you it comes with a whole gob of money. And so that was really cool. And Montana State University was so excited by the fact that I had, got a MacArthur Fellowship that they promoted me to professor. Again. Wow. And then they told me I could have graduate students and teach classes. And so there I was. Yeah, no degrees of any kind, but I was a professor, and so then I used my MacArthur money to make a laboratory where I could cut open dinosaur bones. And when you cut open a dinosaur bone, it doesn't really hurt the dinosaur bone. You can glue it back together again, right? But the internal structures of dinosaurs are beautiful, and we can learn so much about them. And so I started learning about dinosaurs and how they grew and identifying different kinds of dinosaurs. And everything was going great. I decided that I would write a book. I didn't read books, but I decided it was time to write a book. And so I wrote a book called Digging Dinosaurs. And in Digging Dinosaurs, I was explaining about discovering baby dinosaurs and a site that I had called Egg Mountain. And then this guy, this writer, I guess, read my Digging Dinosaurs book, and he created a character in his book that he was writing called Jurassic Park. And so Michael Crichton created his paleontologist based on a paleontologist in Montana who discovers dinosaur eggs. And because I was supposed to be this character, a year later, this guy named Steven Spielberg asked me if I would work on a movie he was making, Jurassic Park. So I became the technical advisor. I got to work on all of those movies. You know, movies are okay. You know, the Jurassic Park movies are pretty cool, but, you know, it's all fiction. Remember that, right? Dinosaurs really weren't like that. But at the same time, I was digging up, right while we were making Jurassic Park, I was digging up a Tyrannosaurus Rex skeleton. And I decided, you know, maybe we could learn more about the T-Rex skeleton. Maybe we could find DNA in it. We couldn't find DNA in amber like they did in Jurassic Park. So I decided I'd look inside the T-Rex leg bones and see if we could find DNA. And we found a lot of interesting structures inside, but no DNA. And so I thought maybe something was happening to it. So I sent out another expedition. We started another big, huge expedition looking for more dinosaurs, and we found, you know, I had wanted to find a Triceratops, and we found over 100 Triceratops specimens, including baby Triceratops that nobody else had ever found. And then we started finding T-Rex skeletons, and we found about a dozen of those. And, you know, that was pretty cool. But one of the T-Rexes that we found, we called B-Rex, and it was preserved really well. So I thought, you know, here's a chance, maybe we could actually dig into this femur and find some DNA. And so we took tissues out of the T-Rex, and we put it in acid, and we got rid of the mineral, and sure enough, out pops dinosaur blood vessels, preserved, clear, flexible blood vessels. And people said, that's impossible. You can't find things like that in dinosaurs. That's impossible. It can't be. It has to be something else. You can't do that because fossils don't preserve like that. And so we started doing chemical analysis, and sure enough, we had blood vessels, and we also had blood cells. But they weren't, we couldn't get DNA out of it. And I thought maybe, well, still, maybe maybe it was breaking down in the atmosphere. So I built a laboratory in the back of an 18-wheeler trailer and took the laboratory to the field so that we could extract better material. And out came beautiful cells and collagen. We were finding proteins, but no DNA. And so I was getting kind of bummed out because by then I wanted a dinosaur. I wanted to make a live dinosaur. And we couldn't figure out a way to do it. So the next year I decided I would just figure out a way to genetically make a dinosaur by genetic engineering. And so I wrote this book, How to Build a Dinosaur. And people just went crazy, and they said, that's the stupidest idea ever. I mean, it's a ludicrous idea, they said. They said, you just can't do that. There's no way to do things like that. And I said, well, but that's only because nobody's ever tried. Let's try it. And so I took my 18-wheeler, my laboratory in the back of the 18-wheeler trailer, and I turned it into a developmental biology laboratory. And we started learning a whole lot about dinosaurs, and we started learning a lot about birds, and we started learning a lot about a lot of things. And one of the things, we figured out a way to make a dinosaur, but more than that, we actually figured out, so when we do science, one of the cool things about science is no matter what your project is, there's a good chance that you might accidentally discover something else. And a lot of discoveries in science are actually based on accidental discoveries. And one of the things that we discovered while we were doing all of this was what causes some actual genetic diseases in human beings. So we made discoveries in medicine based on our dinosaur, but we also figured out how to make a dinosaur. We have figured out how to do it. But I can tell you right now, nobody in this world wants to do it because too many people watch Jurassic Park. All right? Jurassic Park is fiction. I keep saying Jurassic Park is fiction. Dinosaurs wouldn't really be like that. And they said, but they might be. So that's kind of scary. So anyway, that's, the thing is that, digging up dinosaurs is a lot of fun. And, always discoveries to be made. And, if anybody wants to be a paleontologist, that's a cool thing to do, no matter where you are. But the most important thing is that you, as everyone was saying up here, follow your passions, right? Trust yourself. Don't ever let anyone tell you that you can't do something. Well, unless it's illegal, of course, But be persistent. Ignore the naysayers. So I've gone on and written a whole bunch of books. I haven't read any of them. I still can't read, but, somebody's going to read them. And maybe some of you will even read some. So I don't know if I'd show you. Can I show this last slide? Can I show this last slide? Can I advertise a different university?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. I'll ask questions, sure. If I can see them. Anybody have a question? It's really hard to see people. Anybody have a question? Okay, way back there. Come up. What's your question? Here comes a person.
Do you think that we're ever going to be able to make a living dinosaur, or do you think we're going to just...
Do I think we can make a living dinosaur?
Can we, but will we?
Will we? Well, that's a good question. That's a really good question because we know we can,
Yeah.
but, we probably need an island. Yeah, we probably have to go find an island somewhere.
Have you heard of the woolly mice, where they're trying to make like a woolly mammoth?
They're trying to make a woolly mammoth, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think
Can you repeat the question?
that where we make birds into like kind of dinosaur pictures, but not actual dinosaurs?
Well, I hope so. I'd like to make a dinosaur, but people are not too excited about it because they think too many people saw Jurassic Park.
Do you regret working on that?
No, I don't regret working on it. It was fun to work on the movie, but paleontology is more fun than movies. Huh? You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. Last question, and then we'll move on.
I got another question.
Yes, last question.
Huh?
We'll take one more question, and then can we move on?
One more question. Okay.
So we've all seen the movie, and my brother and I were ecstatic about it growing up. So I wanted to know, what was it like being on the set of Jurassic Park?
What was it like being on the set of Jurassic Park? I thought it was kind of boring. They keep shooting the same scene over and over again. I mean, it's not like digging up a dinosaur. It's more fun digging up a dinosaur. I wouldn't trade my job for their job for anything. But it was fun talking to Steven Spielberg. It was fun talking to the actors, but they're actors. Nobody knew anything about dinosaurs.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming.
All right. If we have time, we'll do more questions afterwards. I'm really sorry. Seems like there's a lot of questions and excitement.
Well, they
We
can.
might have
I'll
to
later.
He's going to be around all day, so we'll make sure you can ask questions individually, even if we can't ask it as a group. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Want me to take this out of here?
Sure.
Okay.
That's great. This is actually I put yours back.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right,
Rob.
a round of applause again. Thank you. We're going to keep on moving. Our next speaker is Shavonna Clark. She is Miss Connecticut USA 2024 and a UConn alumna, class of 2017, Bachelor's of Fine Arts. She's also a passionate advocate for mental health awareness. As a Jamaican American and LGBTQ+ leader, she openly shares her personal journal with mental health challenges to inspire resilience and break stigmas. Welcome and thank you.
Hello and good morning. Oh, I love the energy. My name is Shavonna Clark. I am a performer. I have performed as an actor regionally and in New York City. I am a model. I have worked with incredible beauty brands within the industry. I am an entrepreneur. I create unique, sustainable, one-of-a-kind crochet pieces, and I was Miss Connecticut USA 2024. Last year, I had the honor of representing the beautiful state of Connecticut at Miss USA, and during my reign, I was able to advocate for mental health awareness and LGBTQ+ rights and broke barriers within the Miss USA organization. All of that sounds really cool, but I have to say that my journey was not without its trials and tribulations. In middle school, my mental health journey began. I honestly don't remember when or how, but I remember being depressed. I had to work harder than my peers to find joy, and I often had to fake happiness. But it wasn't until my sophomore year of college that I became kind of alarmed. I began having panic attacks every single day, sometimes twice a day. I started to fear going to busier parts of campus. The anxiety started to seep into every part of my life: school, my craft, my relationships with my family, my loved ones, and myself. My grades began to suffer, performing was no longer exciting, and I found myself arguing with my loved ones often. I even wanted to drop out of college. It wasn't until after I graduated that I decided to check myself into a psychiatric hospital for the first time. My first stay lasted 2 weeks. I was diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder and depression. I began taking medication and seeing a therapist regularly. Unfortunately, that didn't last long. I had an unhealthy pattern of seeking therapy until I felt better, and at that point I would start missing appointments and slacking on other areas of my treatment. In November of 2021, I checked myself in once more. That last day, I was in there for 2 months, and I was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. When I received this diagnosis, it all made sense. I was prescribed different medication that was more specialized for BPD, and after my stay, I began a year-long continuing day treatment program that was specialized for people with BPD. The program taught me skills to help manage my overwhelming anxiety and emotions, and a little bit about the diagnosis in general. In 2023 of January, I graduated from that program. A story that I reminisce about often is the time I watched Miss Universe 2021. I remember it vividly. I was actually nearing the end of that stay in the psychiatric hospital, and with only one main TV on the day room floor and a curfew, I encouraged everyone on the floor, patients and staff alike, to watch with me. I had a little notebook that I scribbled my favorites of the pageant, and I watched as the pageant united us. We all watched the pageant in awe, cheering for all of the women. But I also watched, wondering to myself, what if I'm never well enough to compete at Miss USA? I love telling that story because that Shavana would have been terrified of standing here, going into detail about the lows of my mental health journey. Shame was a common emotion for me. I was ashamed of everything that made me who I am. I was ashamed of the color of my skin. I was ashamed of my sexuality because I was taught to be, and I was ashamed of the struggles with my mental health. So for a long time, I ran from who I was and lost myself along the way. The difference between that Shavana and the Shavana standing here now is vast. Coming into my own took courage, strength, perseverance, fearlessness, and love. The courage to be honest with myself and the world about my sexuality. The strength and perseverance to continue in my mental health journey, regardless of having seen numerous therapists, tried numerous psych meds, and had numerous psychiatric hospital stays. The fearlessness of knowing and sharing my story, as scary as it may be. I realized that it can be a catalyst for change in how others view their own journeys. I accept love and give love freely because in love, we can be authentically ourselves. That was a lot. But if you get anything from what I talked about today, I hope you understand this. Our dreams are not outside of the realm of reality. Our measure of success is not based on the color of our skin, our sexuality, our mental health challenges, or any other box that society tries to place us in. Don't get me wrong, those things make it challenging, unfortunately. But had I leaned into those challenges and really believed that, I would not have been Miss Connecticut USA and competed at Miss USA last year. I've learned that there is hope, even if it's just a glimmer. Don't give up on your dreams, your aspirations, your journey, your future. Sometimes our journey is not linear. It's not perfect, but I found that in that imperfection, we can truly blossom into the incredible, powerful individuals that we are meant to be. But it starts with realizing that the one constant in your life is you. So don't be afraid to take up space. Be your most authentic self and never forget to dream a little bigger. Thank you.
Thank you. That was very inspirational. Thank you again. We're going to move on to our third and last talk, and then we will either do our panel as planned or we might switch over to Q&A sessions. We'll see. So Dr. Sally Reese is a Board of Trustees Distinguished Professor and held the Letitia Niag Morgan Chair in Educational Psychology in the UConn School of Education. And she is this year's Reed Fellow. She is not just a professor, she is a really, really well-known international figure in research related to talent development, enrichment pedagogy, twice exceptional student, as well as talented girls and women. So please join me in welcoming Sally. This is a little trophy for you also as a Reed Fellow.
Thank you very much. And the slides are going to come up.
Thank you. What a pleasure to be here and to hear. Thank you. Such dynamic speakers. I'm honored to have been awarded the Reed Fellowship and want to acknowledge Joan and David, who I met when I was working in the Provost's office a number of years ago. I think it's such an honor to be able to talk with you today because my question for you is, how do we create more Jack Horners? How do we create more individuals such as the two that you've heard already today? And can we do that with the schools? My husband and I have been part of a talent development, strength-based education model for 40 years. At the University of Connecticut, what we have tried to do is to say schools should be places for talent development. There should be time in every school day for students to have an opportunity to develop their talents, and that is what our lives' work has been. So we've developed something called the school-wide enrichment model. There are schools in Waterbury that use this model. We're so proud of our association with Waterbury and the fact that even in places where there are economic hardships and challenges, that teachers take the time to think about talent development. Next slide, please. So this is the enrichment triad model, and I just want you to think about it. This is the work that we've been doing at UConn. Next slide. There's 3 types of enrichment. Exposure. Think of Jack's childhood, growing up in Montana with rocks and fossils. Think of being exposed to something you love. Next slide. Training, learning something about that. And then the 3rd type of enrichment is independent small group study, spending time doing things that you love. If every child had an opportunity to have time to do something he loved in school or she loved in school, schools would be a much better place. Next slide. In many ways, these kinds of explorations, these kinds of events influence us for the rest of our life. Science fairs, project-based fairs, History Day, doing things that are active, hands-on learning, make a difference, and sometimes create the whole next generation of scholars, of adventurers, of people that are doing things and making great differences in the world today. Next slide. Over and over again in the work that we've done across the globe, I've spoken in 40 different countries. All over the world, people are looking at talents. How can we develop a talent? And I'll tell you, it always starts with an interest. Next slide. Always starts with an interest. Over the last 5 years, I've been privileged to have a federal grant working with students with autism who are also academically talented. So let's talk a little bit about what we've learned. In 5 years, we've published over 20 papers on this, and what we've learned is that autism, ASD, autism spectrum disorder, oftentimes is a harbinger of special talents. But many of these young people don't make it to college, they don't make it through high school, and why? Because too often their parents, as you heard from Jack, and their teachers look at their deficits first and don't look at their talents. So what did we learn? 5 years of federal research, and by the way, we need to advocate for keeping research at the federal level. If we had not had this grant, we would not have been able to do any of the studies that we are able to do. So to those of you that are out there, federal research money, Department of Education money can't go away. So much will change if we don't have the availability of these funds. Next slide. Let's look at what we learned. First of all, many individuals with autism also have dyslexia. Lots and lots of people with dyslexia don't reverse letters. They just can't read. Look at this. Think of being a kid in a school, both with autism and dyslexia, dysgraphia, all of the challenges that you face. And that's why somebody like Jack Horner never took the time to learn to read. It's so difficult. But how many people like Jack actually make it? Unless teachers understand that within these individuals there are special talents, there will be many, many fewer Jack Horners. So let's think a little bit about talent development. What do we learn? Next slide. We learn that talent development in young people comes when teachers show an interest. When teachers say, you have a talent, I believe in you. It comes when someone says, get involved in an extracurricular activity. It comes when someone takes the time to help you develop your interests. No one goes on this journey without support. What are your interests? What can we do to develop them? It helps when you have a chance to do things outside of the regular curriculum. The regular curriculum is one tool, but look at what opportunities Jack had outside of the regular curriculum. And it comes when we're in a safe environment where we can regulate our emotions and make progress. And that's how we develop talents. That's how we have healthy social emotional development. So, next slide. Schools should be places for talent development. Over and over again, of the people that have succeeded with autism and talent, they said, my teachers believed in me. My teachers told me I had a talent. I found an area of interest. Find an interest. If you find something you want to do, you want to read about, your life will be richer all the way through. Next slide. And then keep in mind, this is my last and final message. In the few minutes I have to speak with you today, schools should be places for talent development. All of us should have some time during the school day to explore an interest and develop a talent. If you don't have that, talk to a teacher. Find someone you trust. Find someone that will support your dreams, because interests develop into talents. Talents develop into more Jack Horners in this world. Thank you very much.
All right, so we're transitioning into a panel, and we'll have 1 or 2 minutes and we'll get started. If the panelists can come to the stage, that will be great. Jack, Sally, Shavana, and then Vishy. If Jack is around, is Jack around? Maybe he's taking a break. Huh? Okay. So I think Jack likes going around the students. So if you see him, please do ask your questions. But I think we're ready to start.
Oh.
Testing.
Can you hear me?
I don't think so either.
Okay, we're going to start using this one because we don't have a lot of time, but let's start. Jack, would you like to come up to the stage for panel? Thank you. All right, thank you all. So we're now going to move on into a conversation that brings together our keynote speakers and special guests.
Absolutely.
Each of our panelists has taken a different path, but what they share is the courage to pursue their passions, overcome adversity, and use their experience to inspire others. Many of them also identify as neurodivergent, and you might be wondering what that means, so let me try to explain that. It is a word that describes people whose brains learn, process information, and feel differently than many others. But in a way, we all are different, right? My brain is not like your brain, and your brain is not like your sister's brain, and so on. Experts say that about 20% of us are neurodivergent. While these differences can present challenges at times, and some of them you heard, like Jack's report card or Shavana's experience. The important point here is that they also bring unique perspectives and strengths and tremendous creativity, as you all noticed also. So we're going to start. I will present, we know Sally already, Jack, and then Shavana. And we have a new guest here. Her name is, okay, we practice, I promise, but I'm not very good at these long names. Vaish? All right, that's a short version. Vaishnavi Sivaprasad. Okay, Sivaprasad. She's a PhD student in UConn's NSF Transcend PhD training program. So, welcome. So let's go and quickly ask questions in the interest of time. I'm going to ask shared questions to all of you. So I think we heard a lot more about Shavana and Jack about how they were like when they were kids. So we're going to skip that unless you have something to add. And I'd love to hear how Sally was like when she was a kid, and then also Vaish, how you were like, and sort of how it led to this career where your trajectory you're on right now.
Start with her.
Okay.
Hi. So yeah, I was definitely, unsurprisingly, very fidgety, very all over the place. Surprise, surprise, I have ADHD. And I was also the kid who asked a lot of questions in class. I was always that kid that had her hand up in every lesson. And over time, especially from the feedback from the teachers, I reduced that a lot. It was always, either we don't have time to cover this or you're derailing the lesson. And it was only when I got back into my master's that I decided to sort of embrace that spirit of asking questions again. And yeah, I do research about curiosity now and how that functions in classrooms. So I feel like that was a really pivotal personality characteristic.
Mm-hmm. Yay.
Sorry. I want to ask, did you experience adversity, and how did you overcome those, if you experienced any? Like raising hands a lot, did that cause any problems at school or other things? I'd love to hear.
Yeah. So like I said, it definitely caused problems. Teachers were, always not very friendly towards, derailing the class or saying that it was outside of the syllabus. And so it took me a long time to sort of reconcile that and start being curious and start asking questions again.
Great, thank you. Sally, and then I'm going to move on to the next one. Did you want to?
I think I'll talk instead about the comment that Jack made related to being told he was lazy by his father. I just want to indicate that in the research that I've done on highly intelligent, academically talented students with disabilities, that's a common factor. So many teachers and parents don't understand disabilities and don't understand neurodiversity. It is incredibly challenging to be told over and over again, you can't do something. You can't. And thinking that if you just tried harder, you were going to be able to cure your dyslexia or cure your attention deficit. It's an impossibility for young people to get that message and not start to feel badly about themselves. So I just want to say the people that survive that end up being resilient. They end up oftentimes putting that into their success in other things. But my concern is the young people that don't survive it, and there's just so many of them. So for those of you that are teachers or students in this audience, think and understand, if somebody appears to be fairly bright, but they can't express themselves, they can't read, think about these hidden disabilities because they have an impact on people for the rest of their life, and not everybody survives it. In fact, most people don't. I was very fortunate, and I did not have dyslexia, I did not have a learning disability, but my empathy for people, especially those who make it to the University of Connecticut, where we have a fabulous disabilities program, is such that they have to overcome years and years and years of being told they're lazy and they're not smart, when really they're so talented they just can't show it. So, I mean, it might be of interest for people to hear a little bit about how Jack survived that, but I just want to say lots of students don't, and that's why we need to be talent scouts. We need to look for these talents and try to develop them.
All right, so following that, let's do that question, which is, how did you survive when people made comments or you felt like people were not judging you fairly or for your skills and talents? Jack?
Especially
couldn't hear what you said.
especially your father. How did you survive being told over and over again you were lazy? How did you survive that? Having people tell you constantly.
How did I survive it?
Being told you were lazy, you were not a good student.
I just ignored them.
Just ignore.
Yeah.
All right, just ignore. Do you have any advice when you faced adversity or people had made judgments about you and how you overcame it? We had a good advice, just ignore. Do you have some advice for the middle school, high school, and college students here?
Yeah, I think I really related to something Siobhan said before, which is that success or the path to success is not linear. Your journey doesn't have to look like the conventional journey. And I think just to embrace your curiosity, your sense of wonder, awe. I feel like in school, you're taught to think like scientists a lot, so engage in critical thinking, problem solving, but I think it's equally important to feel like scientists. So really nurture that sense of awe, wonder, curiosity, because that's how transformational ideas come to life.
Great, thank you. So things don't come linearly, so if you're patient, if you pay attention to what your strengths and curiosity is, it's going to blossom someday. All right, great. I know you spoke about it in your talk already, but if you want to summarize it, how do you challenge things when there's a challenging situation or adversity? What do you recommend?
Well, I, lean on my loved ones, the people that support me and that encourage me, because they're the people that are going to have my back regardless. I think about my mom. I think about even going back to middle school. I had a counselor who was so helpful and really wanted just to make me feel the best that she could. You know, she didn't know what she could do in the moment, but she was so supportive. I think about my friends who literally emailed my professor when I was in college and they knew that I was struggling and they were like, hey, Shavonna's not gonna make it to class today. She really needs to go to the mental health center. So I really think about my loved ones, and at the same time, going back to Jack, the naysayers, you really just gotta ignore them. Honestly, when I won Miss Connecticut, there was a lot of naysayers that thought about different reasons why I won and why I shouldn't have been the person that was chosen. And sometimes in moments of adversity like that, you really just have to stand on your own and know who you are and continue forward, because those things really don't define you. And you have to kind of find that strength within yourself. And it's not easy. I'm not going to say that it is. It takes years and years and years of practice, and I'm still learning and relearning, but it kind of is just, you learn as you go, and you really have to find that strength.
That's great. Thank you. I'm going to stick with Shavonna and ask your next question, and I'm going to go back. And then if we have time, hopefully we can open it up to the audience as well. I know a lot of you wanted to ask more questions. So you've been very public about your mental health and identity journey. What gave you the courage to speak up? So you talked about, yes, you just be strong and do it, but how can we be strong when we don't feel confident about ourselves?
What gave you the courage to stand up?
For me, I had to look inward, honestly, and think about what I wanted for my life. I saw myself going down a very specific path. If I continued down this path, I don't know where I would be right now. I don't know if I would make it to C30. I'm 30 years old now. And I had to think for myself, either I want to get better, or at least try, or I want to stay where I am. And I decided I want to get better. If not just for me, I want to get better for my loved ones. I want to get better for my dog. I want to get better for my future kid. I want to get better for the generations of people that are watching me and find inspiration in my story. So for me, it was really thinking about everyone else, the impact that I can make. And in that, I was able to find the courage to embrace the things that made me different and realize that those things that made me different are actually the most special parts about myself. And those were the things that I was most excited to talk about and share as my time as Miss Connecticut USA.
Great. Thank you. That was very inspirational. All right, Vaish, as a neurodiverse PhD student working at the intersection of curiosity, motivation, learning, sounds very exciting, the topic. I know you said this already, but what's one myth you want to break about neurodiversity or neurodivergent learners and innovation?
What's one myth you want to break about
So I think one myth that I want to break is that if you're neurodiverse, you're less than, or that you're not able to do something, which is definitely not the case. It might feel like it because oftentimes the world, society, infrastructure in general is built to support the needs of neurotypical individuals. But once you start advocating for yourself and finding out the unique way that your brain works and you process information, your strengths, then really sky's the limit. And I think also to embrace your own path is super important. So your unique point of view, your unique perspective, your unique passions, the combination of that is the gift that you bring to the table. So it's super important if you're neurodiverse or anybody to just embrace your differences, and you can do anything, truly.
Great. Thank you. I'm going to ask the next question to Jack. So you've said dyslexia made traditional school hard, but your curiosity never stopped. What advice do you have for learners who feel like they don't have curiosity, they don't fit? You can elaborate in whichever direction you'd like to, or a message to everyone is fine also.
It's hard for me to understand what you're saying.
She said, if you said your dyslexia didn't stop your curiosity. How do you maintain your curiosity? What's a lesson that you have? What's a message you want to give to everybody here?
Do you want to make a comment? Oh, shall we take questions?
Questions, yeah. But quite frankly, I think it's good to be underestimated.
It's good to be underestimated, another key.
Right? I mean, seriously. Doesn't hurt.
Great.
Questions?
All right, it's good to be underestimated. Stay undercover. I'm Sally Reese, and then we'll take a couple more questions from the audience before we finish. You've championed strength-based approaches in research and education, and that really changed the field and the how people see things. How can students and teachers tap into strengths when they're facing adversity? I know you talked about some already, but do you have some summary?
Yeah, I just would I have a daughter that has severe dyslexia and learning disabilities. Every single school meeting we had about her, from the time she was 5 years old till the time she was in 12th grade, was about her deficits. I lost my temper, uncharacteristically of me, I lost my temper several times in these meetings and said, stop talking about her deficits, talk about her strengths, tell me what she does well. Think about that every time that you feel discouraged. You all do something well. You all have an interest. You all have a strength. Strength-based learning means we have to take some time to focus on what we do well in school. And if we did that, schools would be very, very different places. So let's focus on strengths. Let's be strength detectors, and everything will change for these young people. Once my daughter's strengths were recognized, she was a different person. She's a very, very successful individual now. I never thought she'd get through high school, and she has a PhD, and she works with people like herself, people that need help. So let's think about helping more young people identify their strengths and their interests.
Great, thank you. So we'll take a couple questions from the audience. First come, first serve. Run over to the stage, and we'll ask a couple questions to any one of them. But while we're waiting, if you can all think, what's your superpower? I'd love to hear one word each, or 2 or 3 things of your superpower. But let's take questions while you think about that. All right.
I have a question for Jack. How do you think dinosaurs would be like today if they were ever brought back?
Yeah. You got to repeat it.
I can't hear it. I'm coming over here.
All right.
How do you think dinosaurs would be like if they were brought back today?
How would dinosaurs be if they were brought back today?
Yeah.
It'd be like going to Africa, you know? They'd probably be laying around sleeping.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
My next question is, on your last slide, it looks like you were promoting a university. Could you tell me what it was about, please?
Chapman University in Orange, California.
Yeah, I wanted to ask what you liked about it.
Well, that's where I teach.
Oh, really?
That's where I work.
So you, so what's your goal as a professor?
My goal as a professor?
For students.
Educate people.
Thank you.
Oh, hello.
Why were you so persistent in finding dinosaur DNA?
Is Natalie there? Can you get?
It's in my nature.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
How did you know where to find the dinosaurs, or did you just start digging in random places?
That's what we study geology for, right? Geology is what you study to find oil and gold and silver and dinosaurs.
That's fair. That's nice.
Okay,
Now.
I'll do it. Or do you want to do it?
My question is, do the different dinosaur bones depend on the different terrains that you go in? The different dinosaur bones, do they depend on what kind of terrain you're in?
No, dinosaurs lived all over the world, and we find them where they died and where the right age rock is exposed at the surface of the ground.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
How much do you hate the Indominus Rex?
How much do I what?
Hate the Indominus Rex.
I don't hate Indominus Rex. I designed it.
Has there ever been a point where you genuinely considered stopping learning? Oh my God, that was worded terribly. Was there any point where you considered giving up on paleontology because of other people telling you that you can't do it?
No.
Yay.
I just ignore people.
Cool.
You're welcome to stay.
So, out of all of your discoveries, what's the best one that you feel more proud of?
Well, the dinosaur embryos were pretty cool. To break a, I'd broken a lot of eggs open and didn't find anything. So it was pretty nice when I finally did find one.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
This question is from Ms. Reese. Hearing what's inspired you to pursue a strength-based approach in education, how have you seen it impact student success?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Hearing why you were inspired to pursue a strength-based approach in education, how have you seen it actually impact a student's success?
Yes. So the question was, hearing about what you do with strength-based education, how have you seen it impact a student's success? I'll just give you one example of a student I worked with 2 months ago. She was a young woman that was cutting. She had mental health issues. She was depressed. I encouraged her parents to try to find something in school that she loved. She tried out for the play. She got a part, and within a month, she was happy, engaged, having friends. When we asked the right questions, what can you do in school to make you happy? What do you love? Everything changes. And now she's feeling 100 times better, still on medication, but she's not cutting anymore, and she's doing something that's joyful for her. So I think that's one small example of a 40-year career with many, many of those examples. Thank you for the question.
All right. Good. We are going to stop for now. I know there's a long line and people have questions. The speakers are happy to take questions, but we are going to close it for now. So let me tell you the next steps, especially for those from the Waterbury Public Schools. Middle schoolers, you will be leaving and go to your bus. High schoolers, stay in your seat, eat your lunch, I believe. And if you're going to UConn, the high schoolers, there are exhibits on all 3 floors this year. So make sure you go to all 3 floors. Make sure you pick up a brochure, get stamps, and get a swag on your way out. And so if you fill all the stamps, you'll get a swag. So thank you very much. And we'll continue the afternoon session. Thank you.
I grew up very